So good afternoon, and let's start with the workshop for all these colleagues online. So for the slide, you need to put the right session. So the slide is the right session. And without delays, I give the floor to Stefan Roni, who is the manager in the certification directory for the UAS.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yes, again, sorry for being a bit crowded here in the room. At the same time, thanks for all the interest in the topic that you all joined this discussion here. The topic of this workshop is technical changes to unmanned aircraft systems, modification policy for solar medium risk operation, which means there's three operation where we have, therefore operations where we have a DVR verifying the design of I would support you on the here for the workshop. I'm trying to moderate the discussion, and I will start with very few slides setting the scene. But then I have here on my right David supporting the CSAC. From an authority point of view, I have Paris Candice on here and Kevin Houston from MANA. They all will introduce themselves a bit more during the first presentation. So, as mentioned by Marie, we will have the option to use Slido for questions. So we really want to have as interactive as possible setup of the workshop in the room, but also externally. We will also have two polls. One asking in which technical area of drone or UAS or system of systems you expect most changes happening during the life or the operational life of an unmanned aircraft system. The other will be on the frequency, how often you expect those changes to occur. It's simple questions, just provide an answer, gut feeling, whatever. We are not looking for scientific evidence, but as we have quite a number of people in the room and connected to the meeting, it might be some interesting insight in what you are expecting. The objective of the workshop is to identify the needs and the challenges for operators, manufacturers, and authorities, and to brainstorm, to discuss options we have for the control of changes, for the verification of changes, the release of changes or modifications to unmanned aircraft systems. So I'm not expecting that we find the golden bullet and that in 45 minutes or 60 minutes we know how to deal with changes, but I'm looking for an interesting discussion and presentation of what we can or what we might do. I'm trying to set the scene a bit, discussing what are technical changes to UAS, and this can be everything. It could be hardware, software, information in the flight manual about performance, procedures. It could be related to the CMU or other connected systems. It could be a payload related. It could be related to external services, eventually, or maybe it could be linked to the operational environment or environmental conditions. So there could be a lot of areas that are changed, and I bet you maybe you activate the poll.
So it's open.
So it's open if you find an area, okay, it's always software, or it's maybe more changing in the operational conditions or the concept of operation. Try to put it into Slido. How does it affect the design verification report or an operational authorization when you change the unmanned aircraft system, the drone. In this gray box, I'm trying to illustrate the process from the manufacturer to the operation, with the manufacturer having the design data, for that design data producing compliance data, providing the design data, the flight manual, the instruction, the procedures to the operator. And I put here in blue the boxes where we have the authority involved or being on the loop to enable scaling up of operation. So we consider the DVR as an enabler for drone operations, to help the operator to use an aircraft system that's validated, that's verified, that you can rely on these drone, on the configuration, on the procedures, on the conditions for operation, but also on limitations. And all this is fixed or somehow frozen in the DVR. The operator makes use of this, he performs a SORA, he develops an operational manual, and then the NA colleagues are in the loop or on the loop, issuing the operational authorization, and then eventually we have the operator doing or performing the operation. When we now change the system or the systems, how does this affect the DVR or the operational authorization? Does it require a new DVR? Does it require a new operational authorization? Both, one of it, that's open for more detailed discussion. And I would know, okay, the challenge we have here, okay, we are not talking about traditional aviation. In traditional aviation, we have very reliable and mature processes which take a while. Technology is, okay, these days it's changing a lot, but also not on a weekly basis. So we can apply Part 21, we have DOAs with privileges doing minor changes, and a lot of these is not available for the UAS sector. We are dealing with a dynamic industry, a dynamic technological development. We rely on authorizations which then rely on quite frozen configurations. We have no manufacturer privileges for approval of modifications. We have a lot of special cases. So the special case is more the normal. We have software changes, we have firmware changes, we use COTS equipment, we have obsolescence after weeks and not after 20 years. We deal with research and development where the nature of the operation is to change the configuration. So it's quite a lot of challenging aspects. Now, I want to hand over to Kevin.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Perfect. Sorry, we have no.
That's fine. That's fine. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What I wanted to do here today is just to give you a snapshot of what man and drone delivery do and how we address the technical modifications that we have to that come up all the time. And this solution didn't come from my head. It was current documents that are available elsewhere, which I'll talk about, and by doing so in collaboration with the regulator. So just in terms of MANA, who we are. I don't know the audience that well, but we're in Ireland. We're operating in Dublin. Bobby Healy, who's probably downstairs, coming up with his next idea, as he's a serial entrepreneur. We rely absolutely on private investment. This is a relevant factor because the speed of turnaround is relevant because we only survive on the basis of private investment. And if that doesn't come, well, then we come to an end. So we have 120 people. We design our own drones, manufacture them, operate them, and we've had an LUC since April 21. So these technical changes, be they major or minor, have a big impact on us. And coming to a standstill for every technical change is not an option. And we realize that, the regulator realizes that. So what comes out of this down the line for Stefan and his group is very, very important to us. So we do have that constant need to iterate, because we're constantly, apart from operating the drone, but in our test facilities, we're constantly testing new aspects. So we want to bring in those good, safe ones that have been tested into the operational field. Obviously, we're talking about Sales 3 operations here. So the challenges for us, the speed that the competent authority can assess our need for changes. Is the technical competence available to the NAA when they need it? The frequency of modifications, it is a weekly, fortnightly thing, that there's always changes that have to be made. That have to be made to improve the UAS and to improve safety, but they have to be brought in. And they obviously can be major and minor. And again, proportionality is an important issue for that major and minor. So because we've been around for a while, we have a mature SMS in place, and the management of change is mature at this stage. So we have good configuration control. So what have we got to make those changes? Those really important and frequent changes, classified as major and minor. We accept, obviously, a major change has to be back with the regulator. But in the minor area, it's important that we can do that through a agreed system. And what we agreed in consultation with the regulator was using CAP 722G from the UK as a system to manage our changes, with the definition in there. I think it's a very good document. It's a UK document. It has within that particular 722G, it refers back to, as a typo there, that 722G it should be. So when our engineers define a minor change, we must go through a qualification process and a valid verification process, and they're all outlined in CAP 722A. So it wasn't Mana's idea to come up with this, but it was a document that was there that seemed to fit this UAS industry that we're all in. And so that has been subsumed into our SMS under management of change. So what do we need down the line? We're not at DVR. We'll be heading that direction shortly. So technical changes, the class, how are they going to be assessed by EASA and then onto the NAAs is very, very important to us. We need clear guidance on what will be minor and major, because a major change that may enter a prolonged process may be a major change that we just have to stop and not make. But we need clear guidance to make informed decisions. And again, whatever methodology comes from Stefan and his group should remember that we in this particular industry need to make changes. Again, I can't speak for manned aviation, but maybe we need to make changes more frequently than manned aviation. And again, the methodology there has to be proportionate to the risk. Is a very, very important thing as far as man is concerned. So post DVR, the flexible requirements defined, we don't want to go back to begin again if we have a DVR and we make changes. We don't want to go back to go. Snakes and ladders, we don't want to fall down the ladder again and start climbing again. So clear guidance on what minor and major would be, that allows a company like MANA make informed decisions about what they're planning in terms of those modifications. And yeah, that's very much all I have to add. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Stefan, for the invitation for this topic, because for Thales, we have this issue in mind since these 12 months because we are close to obtain the C3 DVR from IASA for the full scope of the C3, the special condition by UAS medium risk. And we have already that in mind that for such complex system, being right first time, it's not so easy. So in my past experience, I did similar activities on mode classification for large aircraft in Toulouse for another supplier, big one. And it was my daily jobs to perform such classification. So it was a part of the DOA, the rules were clearly defined. Today in Thales, I'm working on ETSO, and we have also some evolution. We have criteria for classification, major or minor ETSO, thanks to our AP DOA manual. And for the DVR, we have nothing. Okay, it's something below ETSO and DOA, TC. But yes, we need to have a policy, and so it's really important to have this discussion. Okay, I understand that there will be no conclusion today, but it's key to initiate with many stakeholders this discussion. So just a short reminder, so Thales, okay, this slide is about UAS. We are developing UAS, but we are also an operator on Site 2 and maybe rapidly on Site 3. We have a couple of projects with the agency. So the first one is the UAS Advanced 300. So it's a Site 3, a full DVR Site 3, because sometimes we can earn Site 3, but here it's the full. So we answer to all requirements of the special condition. This one was granted in April, so it was a long time ago, because the technology has some evolution and we may have some issues, and we already know that this DVR is certainly obsolete, and we have to think about how we can update this result. We have another project, so Site 4 is also on a medium risk project, so there is no DOA, no privileges, and for sure we need to establish some rules with the agency before obtaining the DVR in order to think about the next step. Because the DVR is the first step, and after you need to think about the rest. And so the last project on track with the agency, it's Site 6. So for this one, we are lucky, we are under Part 21, so there will be no surprise. We can cope with the relative subparts. Okay. I think there is no other information on this slide. No. Okay, maybe you have your question, or we can. Okay. So before performing this presentation, we had a question from Stefan. So just some examples. It's something that Thales has in mind for future potential evolution after the initial DVR. So we could have some bad dates and some regular dates in order to be in line with the potential new cyber countermeasures. So this is a regular update. We need to define the frequency. We need to define some perimeter. So we need to discuss with the agency and find the right balance for such evolution. Obsolescence, as I explained before. Product improvement. So we have many parts we can modify if we want to go to increase the range or the altitude and so on. We can also increase the limitation in the flight manual without modifying the UAV configuration. For example, at the beginning, we perform just a short campaign with our customer, and time after time we can increase our knowledge on our equipment, because after many flight hours we can improve some range without modifying the thing, so it will just have an impact in the flight manual. And for sure, the usual one, the bug fixing that we may encounter in the real life of our products. Just an important information for me, because in my past experiences, I was used to work with designers. It's still the same in Thales, but it's not because it's a minor evolution that the applicant will reduce the demonstration level, and the certification manager will maintain his role and be sure that every activities are performed as explained as depicted in the plan agreed by the agency. What would be worse if we don't have such minor privileges, like it will reduce the speed of deployment of such evolution, and we could have such things called UAG, it's unmanned aircraft on ground. If we have many minor projects, many major projects each time with the agency, it will jeopardize the other ones. And we know that for EASA, the bandwidth is not unlimited. So it's also key for other DDR projects. And I'm pretty sure that you may have a lot of already. So our proposal here, it would be to have such minor and major classification criteria directly embedded in the initial DDR project. So discussed in the frame of this project with the agency and after applied for potential post-DDR evolution. This is our proposal. It would be a sort of customized criteria for each applicant, something like we already have on our AP alternative procedure DOE manuals.
Okay, thanks. Now switching to the authority or the NA view, present yourself and maybe highlight what are the specific problems in the context of operational optimization related to the configuration control and technical changes.
Yes, so David Combi, the US program manager for BESAC in France, the French NA. So as an NA, I would say that first, I have to endorse the final authorization of the operational authorization that is addressed to an operator. And so really at the end of the process, and what I expect is that all the assumptions of the authorizations are valid. And when we deal with the change of technical assumptions, that's what we are dealing with when we in our subject. I have to be sure that it won't impact the safety assumptions of the authorization. So today, 99% of the authorizations are under SAIL 2. So except perhaps some changes that I may encounter dealing with the enhanced containment, for which we may have some DVR too. I would say I have no real issue dealing with the technical change because we basically make the assumption that under SAIL 2 the aircraft will fall and we have to sweep the ground from any human, basically, roughly below. So, but when we are under SAIL 3 and SAIL 4, we change the paradigm. We switch to a new context in terms of safety, and for this act, we are very sensitive to the level SAIL 3 and obviously above. So that's my first point. We are under medium range operations. So what we are waiting for in that context is that when there is a change on the SAIL 3 and SAIL 4 operations, at the end, we have to have the assurance that this change won't impact the safety of the operation. So for that, considering that most of the manufacturers, the drone manufacturers are not DOA, we have to be sure that the process of the change is properly endorsed and controlled on the side of the manufacturer. We would be comfortable with the idea to have some procedures, to have some clear process that the change is properly made. We also have, we also expect from the manufacturer from the manufacturer, of course, to be in contact with EASA if there is a DVR that is to be impacted by change, and also we expect the operator to be in contact with the not the manufacturer to be in contact with the operator, and at the end from the operator to inform the NAA that everything is under control with the right traceability of all the changes that could impact the operation. So obviously, if it's just a change of the payload and there is no impact on the way the drone will fly and the way the drone will be safe or not. So at the end, this could have no impact. The change may not have no impact. But when we deal with a change, first we have to be sure what are the impacts of this change. That's the point of view of NA.
Okay, thank you. Maybe now putting the head of EASA on and reacting on some of the elements. I think it's quite important to really picking up this to identify what is impacted. And we have issued quite a number of DVRs. Not so many on the whole aircraft. It's has the privilege to be the owner of the DVR for the whole aircraft system there, but a lot on technical mitigations. And of course, there we may have or we have the same problem. It might be CO2 operation, but CO2 operation only because it is expected that this technical mitigation is working as expected. There we already have the same problem, so we may need to find a way to address technical changes. The advantage we have in that area is that our DVR is only addressing or covering the technical function. So that's may make it easier for us to identify technical changes that not have an impact on the DVR. Nevertheless, those technical changes may have an impact on the operation, changing the flight manual, changing performance or procedures or some of the assumptions relevant for the safety of the operation. So we still have both topics. What I found quite important is in a lot of projects when dealing with technical changes to the configuration of an aircraft, first basic is to have a good understanding what is the configuration and to have a procedure for managing the configuration and managing changes to the configuration. Whatever we will implement, it is important to have a basic procedure for configuration control and configuration management. Before we haven't implemented anything like that, we can't really discuss classification of changes and classification or judging on the impact of changes. And that's probably an area where I think we still need needs of compliance related to also to implementing some basics in that area, which may help the industry also to set a certain standard where we can base our DVR on. And at the end, the focus of this presentation is Z3, but that's basic for any drone, even for an open category drone. I hope that we manufacturers have basic configuration management. We heard a lot about change classification, minor, major. For traditional aviation, this is based on an organization, an approved organization with privileges. question from my side to Kevin. How is your interaction with the NAA when you classify, or how do you classify minor major?
Okay, and the detail is absolutely set out there in CAP 722G. So the definition of major minor is there. It has to go through a process. So when our engineers decide it is a minor change in compliance with that definition, then the next stage in the process is for that particular change to go into a classification that is defined in CAP 722A, which is quite a long step process. And then there is a subsequent verification process that what you have classified as minor is actually minor. So unless that result comes out, well, then it's going to be a major change. So again, it was done in consultation with the regulator, because there wasn't a system there that we could say, that's great, we'll take this system in. So the UK seemed to come up with a very, very appropriate system to what is our UAS industry.
In which step is the NAA involved in the process?
The NAA reviewed the system, which is essentially the CAP, and then approved that as part of our SMM. And so every step that has to be taken, we have an obligation, and obviously it's auditable. But where we have major, well, then we have to go back to the regulator again. So, I mean, the efficacy of the CAP 722G, a published document, I suppose, was assessed, and that was found suitable. In the absence of other guidance being available.
Question to Kennedy. You are proposing to have some reclassification of changes within as part of the DBR, right? Yes, and we had already some changes in that direction. There's in the TSO world, we had in the past also no DOAs, or not even an option to have an approved organization. And the privileges were, it was still possible to have certain pre-approved or to implement certain pre-approved modifications with some open brackets in the definition of part numbers or configurations. Would you apply such a system also to software changes, or how would you consider software in that context?
It depends on the equipment. If it's equipment leading to a loss of control, or it's flight control computer, GNSS, actuators. For me, it would not be really nice if the applicant can do its own evolution without putting EASA in the loop. But for secondary equipment, such as remote ID, payload, and other minor things, so many equipment on the UAV, yes, for us, it could be an opportunity to perform some minor evolution under our UAV privileges.
So this would mean that still a lot of software changes would be classified as major and require authority involvement.
Yes, for sure. For instance, for SAE3, so in theory, the agency requests a VAL-D. It means that you will have a new software accomplishment summary or an equivalent, depending on the name used by the supplier. And for SAE4, it's a VAL-C. You should be involved also to review at least that we are online with our plan of the software development. And if we have new OPRs, you need to be also involved. Otherwise, your non-technical objection identified in the DVR will be obsolete. So for sure, for me, for search equipment, if we do software evolution, EASA needs to be involved. But for other, it's an opportunity to perform evolution. So it's the total issue.
which would also mean that it's quite important from the to build an architecture or to just think ahead what type of changes will come and to make it easier to classify a change or function or piece of equipment as
Yes, for sure. For sure, it's a good reflex coming from a CS25 world. If you need to have some minor function, the best would be to perform some partitioning compared to the critical ones. You have images to perform some DAL-E or DAL-D evolution compared to DAL-A, DAL-B, IASA would be for sure in the loop as per part 21 rules. So yes, think about potential evolution at the really beginning of the UAS project is key.
Maybe before switching to the questions, Slido, you can have a look at the first poll. The question was, okay, in which area do you expect most technical changes? It's okay, a lot expected seems to be on software, ground control station, technical and safety improvements, hardware, external services, procedures, procedural adapting, a lot, which may be part of the other boxes. Yeah, but it's flying IT equipment. So we have a lot of changes or will be expected in this area. We will switch to the second poll, which should provide us with some maybe better visibility how agile we need to be. So we are just asking you as an operator or manufacturer, how often do you expect changes to be required to be implemented? So it might be that you as a manufacturer, you have every week or every few days some internal updates, but how often would you see the need to release them to the operator? I think this poll can go on for a while, and let's switch to the question we see in Slido. Maybe I take the first one. Get a DVR on a simple configuration. How long shall the manufacturer expect from the EASA for, say, sales 3 ops? How many interactions does this represent on average? It's difficult to come with average data. We don't have a lot. It also depends what does it mean simple configuration. A sales 3 operation is starting to get more complex than sale 1, sale 2 operation. There are quite some expectations on the operator and also on the hardware on the UAS is operated. There's a DVR on the complete aircraft will take a while, but we are seeing more and more means of compliance available, which should drastically speed up the process. So my recommendation to Anonymous would be really to look into the published means of compliance and the one recently consulted to have a better idea of how mature the own product is to then make its own judgment whether this is mature enough. And in case of doubt, we offer as agency always a pre-application meeting before engaging into a DVR. So we could have a first look and discuss what is reasonable, how mature is the product or the organization behind. Okay. It's moving time. Maybe I go first to Diego, asking whether the agency plans to adopt a similar approach to CAP 72G, and highlights the importance of having a clear and proportionate framework for the management of technical changes. I definitely agree with the need, whether the CAP 72G, I think the document has a lot of value and provides a lot of inspiration for whatever process we would adapt. How we would adapt needs of compliance, or it probably maybe more certification memo on processes could be a good idea to collect some of the ideas there. But to implement, probably would for the time being do this more on project basis using the DVR, stating the process and agreeing on a case by case basis the process with the applicant. The more experience we have, the broader maybe the material could be, and we will also. We have seen this morning that there's need to clarify manufacturers' roles and responsibilities in the regulation better. We could also then implement something in the regulation directly, putting obligations and responsibilities to manufacturers. In cell 3, failure conditions are never catastrophic. It's true, in accordance with the means of compliance to also 5. A crash, a loss of control is not expected to result in fatalities on the ground. Nevertheless, I would not go so far to consider that there cannot be any change impacting a DVR or the operational situation. Maybe just turning to David.
Can be under self-free operations and flying over a non-sparsely populated area. So, non-catastrophic event, what does it mean actually? We consider that potentially, if self-free operations are not carried out properly, that could kill people. So that's the reason why we consider that as a level 3, as we could have an aircraft overflying people that should be studied.
You mentioned and the Photoshop classification, the area for minor linked to the safety. What was the threshold that you had in mind?
Well, just an example for DVR safety projects for certain equipment which are not part of the analysis, so they have no link. At least, if this equipment is not working properly, we should be able to, and it will not jeopardize the rest of the UAV, we should be able to modify it. So I had the example of the remote ID. For the, I think it's not so easy. It's not just a question of safety analysis, it's a question of UAV manufacturer who needs to put in place a demonstration strategy, which will be really helpful for the applicant and for the agency to be sure that if you modify something, it will not have indirect effect to many other equipment which are really important for the UAV. So this is why, yes, your proposal to have such a face-to-face discussion with the agency at the really beginning of the project is key to establish the rules, the criteria for future evolution, because there are so many type of UAVs, so many architecture that I'm pretty sure that one rule will not be applicable for all applicants. And it's too complex, from a multi-rotor to a a fixed wing, the gap is too big. We have too many products. So it's all view today, except if you have a generic rules you may apply.
The react also on the comment of the question. Okay, we do not expect catastrophic failure cases, but nevertheless we have, or SAIL3 has some quantitative expectations on the rate of loss of control. And so one will deal with this equipment like flight control, like ballers, autopilot, whatever the terminology is, where a failure would immediately result in a loss of control, triggering the termination system. This should not happen in every flight. So we have had some quantitative objectives to keep the safety expectations. Okay, without the words UA, CFO, and PC, I agree this should not belong in the medium risk category. Nevertheless, this is a world where we are coming from, and sometimes we even find there good inspiration. And there's a lot of experience behind it. That does not mean that we want to impose CS25 policies on SAIL3 airlines. When we see something that provides flexibility, why not? And maybe in the previous question, we reiterated a bit better on what is the impact on the safety of operation. So, meaning we should prevent the loss of control. Maybe with a bit more flexibility in SAIL1, SAIL2 operation, where the risk on the ground is low. But starting from SAIL3, therefore, we have population that is overflowing. The next question goes towards SAIL3 operation requiring effectuation risk evidence on the needs of compliance for the design. How would you treat that? Changes in the aircraft system.
Good question. In that context, the subject will have to be addressed between basically, as far as I understand, between the operator and the NA, but the manufacturer will have to be in the loop anyway, because if we work with a mock or certification memorandum, I suppose we will have at our disposal some compliance metrics. So if there is a change, we have to check whether there is an impact or not on the compliance metrics. And so the document we will use matrices will have to be as clear as possible for us to make the proper assessment of the impact of the change. That's my point of view, but as I don't know the future shape of this MOOC and certification memorandum, I cannot be more accurate on that.
Slightly.
Yeah.
Thinking about the declaration process. It's over there.
Okay, so
Yeah. But I think I can be heard, right? Thinking that this could be a declaration process, as long as we ensure, as Stefan was saying, that there is actually a process established and the criteria, and in fact, we would like to put it in the means of compliance to operational safety objective 2, that we still have to consult. We need to insert there the configuration management and how to define the configuration. Once that is there, then a declaration, one could say, okay, if there is a change, the declaration could be repeated. Because if a company declares on the UAS, may declare on the UAS with change, right? This would be the plain solution. It is, okay, you repeat the declaration, whatever the change. So probably it's not the ideal solution, but it could be a possibility.
But you need a new operation authorization?
Sorry, I think there is a link with what we do today for the enhanced containment and compliance with the MOC. But we will address the cell-free criteria instead of addressing the M2 tactical application. I think we should be in the same kind of process, no?
I think the basic question that we will need to solve is if the declaration is a pure declaration or if there is the authority behind the declaration looking at something.
It's been,
We could have long discussion.
a lot of discussions on that. Maybe going back, whatever is, whether it is declared or there is a DVR or verification process behind, the basic that would need to be available is, okay, first to have a good understanding what is change. And of course, in all the change area, when there was evidence produced, the manufacturer, I assume, has done the testing and the analysis and whatever assessment that's required to assure that the changed product is safe. Then on top, there may be the need to declare again or to amend a declaration or to have a new DVR or to amend the DVR or to classify or to confirm that there is no need to change that authorization or certificate or approval. But that's anyway the process. When you change a product, you still need to ensure that this product is safe and compliant. Okay, there was a question.
Yes, a small comment question. If there is a change and you should mitigate the declaration, whatever form, you need a new operation authorization from the operator.
Certainly for me. Depends on the change and the impact of the change on the assumptions of the authorization. So if we deal with the format of direct identification, change of regulation, I don't know, leading to change of the identification, probably should not impact the safety assumptions. On the other hand, if we switch to, I'll give an example, to a GNSS receiver using GPS information and switching to a Galileo open service authentication, take the example, perhaps we will have to think about the robustness of the new solution. So depends.
But if this is, I guess, this is a manufacturer issue. He has declared manufacturer is safe. He has signed again the declaration. Why the operator has to submit again operation authorization? That's the question.
I have the right to be smart when I sign something. No?
Yes,
so I have to understand what I sign. That's my job. So I endorse the final responsibility. I'm not the only one to endorse the responsibility because manufacturer too.
Yeah.
But at the end, I am in charge of the safety of the operation when I sign. So.
Okay, it's not only the authority that can be smart, it's also the manufacturer.
Of course, I hope so.
And it depends a lot on how you define a configuration and how you ensure that changes or potential changes have an impact on the safety. Of course, when there's a change form fit function, you have a new supplier for a battery. This might not have, but the characteristic is identical. It's a new supplier. It was just an obsolescence problem. It might not have any visible impact on the operator or affecting the operational authorization. The same may even be the case when there's a software change triggered by whatever cybersecurity. I've not seen it on the list, but this may be in the future a driver for quite some changes. No? But the change may be on a level not having any effect on the operating. There's a lot that also can be probably done on the manufacturer side to have a smart configuration control system and definition of components and functions.
Stefan, one more question, and then we need to slowly wrap up.
Okay, maybe then I just take the next two. DVR has been reviewed and improved since 24. I think we have issued 12 DVRs in 24. And there will be a few more to come for the end of the year. And the next is where do you start when you develop a new product above 25 kilos, so not in the A3 open category. DVR for an unfinished product doesn't make any sense, and I can only agree, especially if it's the lower end. But I assume that it's possible when you have a new product, 25, 50, 100 kilo, that you can start the initial operation in an environment it's not requiring a DVR. So that you start operating in a SAIL 1 or SAIL 2 operation where this is not required. And of course, test centers that provide certain infrastructure, that provide certain operation procedures, ensuring safety should facilitate that. And I think there is another workshop on testing and test centers. So I would recommend to go
Stefan,
there.
just the number of DVRs you gave approval. What was the time that it took you to give the approval?
I think the fastest, and I only remember that one.
It was that long.
was 6 weeks. So it can be quite fast, but that was a DVR on the technical mitigation. We had some things in that vertically challenges to overcome, but it really depends how the material is prepared and what package we receive and how many iterations we need. So even on a major change, there would be the need to do or manage a DVR, or the issue doesn't need to take years. We don't have to reinvent and define a new ladder. We know what to climb, and what program needs to be done, and what tests needs to be done. So,
Would EASA authorize some test center to make this DVR?
other problems.
But I mean, EASA will bottleneck if the business really grows, and there will be lots of more else to do.
Attend the other workshop and discuss. It's important to there. Thank you all for the